We have a rather interesting subject this morning that combines religion and words. And of course, the emphasis that's been developing along the world philosophy department relating to the use of words and their place in the universal plan of things makes this perhaps an interesting occasion to combine the word problem with the religious problem. To begin with, we know that words, as Minshew in his Guide to Tongues, the first dictionary, tells us clearly that words do not describe the purpose or reality of an object. A word does not explain an object or a thing or a circumstance. It merely sets forth a usage. The way a word is used becomes the basis of its semantic significance. Now, the way words are used today shouldn't happen to a dog. The words today are just playthings, but mostly they are also substitutes for thinking and feeling and doing. The word, in other words, takes the place of a decisive action, thus relieving the individual of the possibilities of offending somebody or setting forth some truth that will be unpopular. Now, in one of the later dictionaries, Noah Webster, we find the same thought. Webster warns us that we are not going to find in his dictionary the meaning of anything. We're going to find the use of terms to describe matters, and that these descriptions are not always valid, they're not always correct, they're not always meaningful, but by common habit they have become universal. And somewhere along the lines, even the semanticists people come to the conclusion that the time has come to make words mean something. That when a word is used, it stands for a principle, it stands for a reality, it stands for a conviction or an opinion that is valid and sound. This becomes quite a problem because we've been using words for excuses for thousands of years. And we use them every day to escape work, to escape decisions, to substitute for thoughts, all kinds of uses to reduce the stress and strain of facts. Now, a word, if it's not factual, it has very little permanent significance. But facts are hard things, and facts are problems that people do not like to face. Therefore, it is simpler to say something that is comparatively meaningless and useless rather than to face into an act which might be significant and of permanent value. One of the ways we can study this type of situation is to realize how these word problems have come to grow with us, and that also they were a problem in antiquity. It is said that somebody held up a carrot to Socrates, and Socrates took the carrot. He says, "What is it?" The man says, "This, sire, is a carrot." Socrates, "And what is a carrot?" "Well, a carrot is a vegetable." "Can you show me a true vegetable?" "Yes, sire, the carrot." Socrates says, "Now I know everything and nothing." Now, this is the type of way we use these terms, probably a little more effectively, a little more cleverly, but essentially this way. We use words for substitutes, for thoughts, for feelings, and for actions. And the result is that they become excuses for the perpetuation of ignorance. Now, this seems difficult to believe because words are very glamorous things. We make beautiful poetry over them. We make great speeches upon them. We do all kinds of things, and we name legal holidays for them. So we take a legal holiday which might have to do with a very important invention or advent in the life of our country, and we declare it a legal holiday. which means it is a day for rejoicing, for consideration, and for appreciation of the principle involved. What do? We put on a football game, which has nothing to do with anything. And if we should cancel the football, we'd probably go to Congress, because we must keep those things going. But nobody cares really much about what the original idea was. Half a day holiday, or a day's holiday, is the important thing. The principles involved behind words are misused all the time. I think many years ago there was in the New Yorker a rather cute cartoon dealing with this subject. Two prehistoric men were cutting an inscription on the wall of a Cro-Magnon cave. They had a stone and a piece of metal, and they were making things, pictures, to tell a story. And one of them turned to the other and said, "I say, how do you spell dinosaur? With 3 legs or 4 legs?" This is about the spirit of it. Now, as we go along, let's try to see what happens. Take Christmas, for example. Now, there's no one in the world that objects to the fact that Christmas is one of the great holidays of Christianity and one of the great religious days of the world. It is perfectly proper to celebrate it. It is perfectly proper to share in rejoicing. All these things are proper. But it is also proper that this day should mean something to the life of the person. It is not simply a day to send gifts. It is not a day to take the kids to the store to see Santa Claus. There is something more to it than this. There is a great significance behind it, and we have buried the significance in a term which has gradually come to mean something else. So the word for Christmas, which really means the Mass of Christ, has gradually become a day of exchanging of gifts, celebrating all kinds of secular things, and if you're lucky, either a ball game or a golf tournament. These things are not, the semantics of these things are not good. Now, we use these semantics also in personal evasion. We use words in our relations with our neighbors, with our family, and even sometimes in talking to ourselves. We are trying to escape the hard facts of reality, and by covering them in an elaborate layer of holidays or platitudes, we think we have solved something. Now, our world is, at the moment, is in a serious condition, very largely due to the fact that we never face on or into a fact. Facts are dangerous. They might force us to improve our dispositions. That would be very difficult. They might make us more truthful, almost unthinkable. We would be more generous, a good virtue, but expensive. All the time we use these words to take the place of something real. And the words themselves, as Minshew points out, are not really anything at all. Their meanings are not the same. Not long ago in our life, a hood was the front of an automobile. Today it is headgear. We have to think of many, many things of this nature. All words change with the customs of the time. They change with the dominant class of a group. They are influenced by education, by scientific discoveries and so forth. And speaking of scientific discoveries, we must realize that words are not necessarily answers or solutions. They are merely terms given to things for which we have little or no actual understanding. So everywhere we conceal ignorance with long terms that seem important and valuable, but they are not the answers to anything. Now, when we get further into this semantic problem, we come to the conclusion, as one I think it was Kajipsky who makes the statement, that probably the answer to the semantic problem is to keep quiet. The only way to get away from a misstatement is to say nothing. Because almost anything you say will be misunderstood by somebody else, And as we look into politics, we will realize that we're in the midst of the greatest mass of this type of problem in the world. The semantics of government are incredibly bad because they have nothing to do with facts, and yet they are built up to resemble facts, but the facts remain untrue. And the realities of the matter are not discussed. There's hardly a paper that comes into print today in which we admit, frankly, that we are trying to conceal something, misinterpret something, or find a virtue in something we know is not very good. All these things cause the average person to sit back and believe that we live in a highly intellectual era. We are pretty smart people. We are smart enough to deceive ourselves and each other, but not smart enough to think straight. This is one of the excuses for the rise of semantics as a means of clarifying and washing words so they will no longer have meanings that are inconsistent with truth. So we can look along a little bit now, and we come to one of the great days of the year, Easter. Easter is a day that has very deep significance. And for more than about 3.5 billion Christians, Easter is a sacred day. Of that 3.5 billion who admit it as a sacred day, how many of that group is actually doing anything except celebrating? They will have masses. They will have processions. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre will be overflowing with humanity. There will be masses at the Vatican. There will be all kinds of church services, which are quite proper and right and very valuable. But after the day blows by, what has happened to public morals? Are we doing anything except celebrating? Are we doing anything except talking? Or are we doing anything except perhaps going to church for an hour? Where is the meaning of this striking into the life of the individual?